Thought Find Depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest indeed. Music recording studio, label, publisher, and producer for independent artists. No other than Mr. Don Rodriguez.
Thanks for having me, Daniel.
Welcome, Mr. Don on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Yes, thank you. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to be on your podcast. My name is Don Rodriguez. I'm the founder of the I Music Studio, which is a recording studio, record label, and music publisher for independent artists. I myself am an independent artist and have been for a few years now. And I started this studio really as a jam session for my friends and I. We are in a commercial space here. And over the last 10 years, it kind of turned into a rehearsal studio. And about the last 18 months, I have transformed this studio into a rehearsal studio that recorded into a full-fledged recording studio. I built sound baffles and upgraded our equipment and ran stems and just did a universal upgrade across the studio. Once I had my recording studio ready to go, I'm kind of a deep diver kind of a person. I like to investigate everything I get into. And so when I got into the music industry, I wanted to map out exactly what it looked like and how I could be successful. I'm a 20-year entrepreneur after all. So as I mapped that out, I realized that my highest chances for success are to be associated with the label and also to be associated with publisher to get our music published. So I started the record label and then I started the music publisher as well. And once I got everything set up, I decided, well, let's open it up to other independent artists because there's a need among independent artists to be heard. Not so much to make music now. That's kind of the easy part. The hard part nowadays is being heard.
Interesting, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Don. Thank you. And today, let's talk about the 20-year Las Vegas entrepreneur changing the music industry, music that you are creating. What does your creative process most often begin with the melody in your head, a lyrical phrase, a specific emotion, or a sonic texture you want to explore?
Typically, that's a good question. It can vary. As a songwriter, there's two kinds of songs, really. There's the concept songs or developed songs. Those are the kind where I think, I'd like to write a love song to my wife, and these are the words I'd like to say. And so we come up with lyrics and chord progressions and that kind of thing. That would be, a concept song or a developed song. The other kind of song is a download, and that's not my word. I'm stealing that from Lenny Kravitz in an interview that he gave. He talked about songs being downloaded to you all at once, lyrics, melody, bass lines, everything. And that kind of song, comes from God or the universe or whatever you believe. But that kind of song, when it hits you, it comes out. And it's not so much that you're writing the song, it's really the process of transposing and translating what you hear in your head out to the rest of the world. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't quite happen, And I imagine that all artists kind of feel the same way when we have a vision of something or a sound that we're trying to achieve and we put it out there. And sometimes it's the closest that we could get to what's in our head. So those are the two kinds of songs. When I develop a song, it's usually conceptual. I will write a song on a concept, maybe like a breakup or the birth of a child or somebody getting married. I'll have an idea in my head about, usually human relationships. And from there, I will pull out, a song, a story, for example.
Interesting indeed, Mr. Don. How does your physical space actively shape the mood and direction of the music you create there?
Well, I don't know if you got a good view of the studio behind me, but I keep the mood very, very artistic. We keep the lights low here. Um, we keep the smells very vibrant, very fresh, very positive. We keep the atmosphere of the studio. The music that's playing in the studio is always positive. Usually, having to do more with yoga and positive vibes. Reggae music tends to be the vibe here, and we do that all on purpose. Smell, sights, visually, sounds. We do everything that we can to keep our artists comfortable and creative. And any time where we start to feel like it becomes a lot of work, then we really need to take a break. And we can do that in a variety of ways. We can take a walk outside. We can go upstairs and get some tacos, or we can go next door, right here behind me in Studio B, which is our content creator studio, and just chill out there. We use Studio B as a green room as well. So yeah, it is very important to keep the vibe very creative here, because otherwise, if it feels like work or pressure, we don't get our best product out of that.
The best product indeed, and we need that, the best product. Beyond the music, what non-musical sources, books, films, conversations, or live events most consistently fuel your creative ideas?
Um, wow. I don't watch a lot of television. I don't spend a lot of time watching TV. I really consume more music and books. If anything, I feel like in terms of movies and television, if you're an artist, you have to understand that first there was a writer, and then the writer wrote either a novel or a screenplay, and then a producer and or director read that, and then the screenplay created the vision in their head, and then from the vision they said, okay, let's make a movie or a television show. And oh, I really like that, let's make a pilot, right, in the case of television. And so this is fine, this is beautiful, this is art, this is how art is made. But as an artist, sometimes I don't want to see someone else's vision. I'd rather just read the story or read the screen. As an artist, I just want to go straight to the writer. Let me read what you wrote and build my own vision, which is why we usually say, the book is better than the movie, because we can build our own vision. And every time we see a movie or a television show, we are watching someone else's interpretation of the same writing. And it can only be so good. And a lot of times, like I said in the beginning, even for the director, it didn't even, I know as a musician, I can only imagine it happens for directors as well, producers of television and movies, the same as producers of music, where this was as close as we could get it to what I actually saw in my head and what I heard in my ears, and here it is to the rest of the world. And people ask, why are artists so hard on themselves? That is why. Now, I'll just tell you, this is why artists are hard on themselves, is because while everyone pats us on the back for a job well done, only we know what we actually saw, and we measure it against what was in our head. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. So, on process and craft, Mr. Don, could you walk us through the typical day of creation when you deep in a project? What is the first thing you do, and how do you know when the session is truly productive?
Well, the first thing I do is I get in the studio first. As a music producer, you have to be as good or better than your talent, right? You can't be less than your talent. You can't work less than your talent. You can't be as talented in your job than your talent is in their job. You have to be equal, or better. So I always show up in the studio first. I usually clean up. I warm up the coffee pots. I make sure the waters, bottle waters, check all the instruments. I'll go down my list depending on who we have in the studio. We have different microphone setups. I always start with sound first. Our studio is outfitted with cameras as well. We usually go live on YouTube is an option for us, and so I set up sound first, and then I set up all the cameras, and this all happens before call time. And call time, if you're not familiar with the show business, call time is the time that the artists are asked to arrive, right? Not show time, it's call time. And then we have tech time, which is usually before call time. That is when the technical people should arrive to set up. So, of course, as a studio owner, I'm usually showing up. Well, I'm opening the door, so I'm even here before tech time. So, studio owner here, I open the doors and we have tech time. We have setups, like I said, sound and audio and video rather. And then we go through call time. And before call time, I like to go through my studio sheets, my session sheets, and make sure that I know how we're going to be set up, microphones, where the artist is going to be standing, how many artists we have coming in, and we get all that set up all before call time. Call time comes in, the artists come in, they're comfortable. We bring them into Studio B, which is right behind the banner behind me, and make sure that they're comfortable and chit chat and we get used to each other, and then we'll do some vocal warm ups and stuff. And then, we'll do a take or two. And I mean, generally speaking, the first take is never the one we go with. We usually go with anywhere between the second and fifth takes. I don't typically go past any more than 5 takes of a song vocally, because after that, you're just not going to get the best product. The best vocal product is going to be between take 2 and take 5 after a good strong warm up.
Take two. Oh wow. That'd be awesome, Mr. Don. Which usually come first, just like music, chicken or egg first for you, the lyrical concept or the musical landscape. How do you get them to speak to each other?
Wow, that's a good question. It really depends on the genre. If you are writing and producing in your genre or a genre that you grew up with or you're influenced by, it can come either way. You can come in with a beat, and then you put a rhythm together and then a melody, and then if you're lucky, you can draw some hooks at the end, and the song kind of almost writes itself if you're feeling it. If you're outside your genre, it's much more difficult. For example, I'm working on an album right now for Kundalini Yoga, and I have a lot of Latin influences in my music. And so I find myself being drawn away from the Hindu and Indian sounds and over to this Latin sound. And it's really difficult for me to get out of, the Latin rhythms and into Bollywood. So it can be difficult. So in that regard, you have to listen to a lot of music, and you have to understand rhythms and beats and tempos and timing, and you have to understand what you are trying to bring from your audience. Are you telling them a story? Are you trying to elicit an emotion? Um, what you're trying to do with your song, if it's not a download, if it's a download, you just translate the song and you put it out there. If God is singing you a song, it should be sung. But if you got contract work, which is what we do here at the studio a lot, and you have an assignment, it could be difficult. It can be difficult. I tend to build the landscape of the song first, and then drop in lyrics and vocals last. If I'm building a song like that outside of my genre.
The vocals last. So, as a CEO and founder, what are your short term and long term goals, Mr. Don?
My short-term goals are to reach revenue. I mean, that's always
Likewise.
everyone's first. A short-term goal should be cash flow, right? Positive cash flow. Um, this company and the publishing, I&I Music Studio and I&I Music Publishing, represent companies 9 and 10 that I have started up. And I have an okay track record. One company is about 20 years old and still going. And I have a few that, two that I started and we sold and are still going. And then we have some failures. So I know entrepreneurial, the landscape of entrepreneurship very well. My short term goals are to reach positive cash flow. That should always be your first goal. And my second goal is, of course, would be to leave a legacy. That would be the long term goal. I'd like to build a studio, a stable of independent artists. Our goal here is to take you and shine you up and get you part of our label and put you out there as bait, and maybe one of these other big labels will come and scoop you up. That is our goal. Our goal is to create, to launch the careers and create new artists, new music artists that will become mainstream artists. You know, hopefully I'll stay down here in the trenches forever. With independent artists, because that's where I really like to be, down here where everyone launches their career. And my dream, I would really love for to launch some great careers, and then for them to come back one day and say, "Hey, Don, there's a kid that we heard in Seattle. You got to go hear him." That's the kind of atmosphere and studio we're trying to build: a home and a stable of independent artists. And where you go from here, that's up to you. But if you'd like to launch your career here with us, we'd love to have you.
Yes, well, Mr. Don, looking forward for more success and good luck to your goals, revenue and legacy. What a goal indeed, and what a goals. So, what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
No, want to be like me? Well, you should want to be like you. I mean, that is my best advice: is to find out who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. No one is perfect, and neither are you. And embrace the things that you need to improve. Awareness is key. Become aware of your faults and the things that are keeping you back. Take personal responsibility for your life and start to fix those things. As soon as you do that, as soon as you look in the mirror and say, maybe the problem with my life is me, then your life will begin to change in that one small step. Become aware of those things that you need to fix and fix them. Become aware of the cycles that you're living, that you're carrying on, that you inherited from your parents and your grandparents. And, I always say, if you're not actively breaking the cycle, you are actively living the cycle. So become aware of those cycles that are no longer serving you, the unhealthy ones, and turn them around. If there's such a thing as a downward spiral, then there is such a thing as an upward spiral, and you can create that. So that is my best advice. Embrace who you are, and especially the flaws, and just become aware of them. Say, okay, yeah, this is who I am. This is what I need to fix, and then you work on that and be kind. That's it. It's pretty simple.
Be kind, people, be kind. And thank you for that advice, Mr. Don. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
A book, yeah. I'm gonna go with I'm on the spot here, and this is great, and I read a lot, and I'm gonna go with Paths to God by Ram Dass. That is Ramdass. The late great Ram Dass. He is a guru who has passed, the American guru. And Paths to God is an excellent book that I've read, well, probably at least 6 times now. And every time I find something better in it. Every time I read it, it applies to me a little deeper, and I understand another level to it. And it is a book that I highly recommend if you are in search of purpose and just questions of why we're here, what's going on, what do I need to do to improve my life. I was fortunate enough to have a very good, blessed, fast entrepreneurial career that gave me the ability to open this studio and take the last year developing our contracts and our concepts. And I can tell you that the material world, there's nothing at the end of that road. And I was able to learn that quickly before I got too far down that road. But there's nothing down the end of that road of money and things that you're trying to fill in to fill in that gap of happiness, that void that's in you. So you've got to look within. You have to look within. And some people say go to church. That's fine. For me, I needed to find something deeper. So I recommend this book, Paths to God by Ram Dass, if anyone's interested in that.
Yes, thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Don. And if you had to choose one song from your catalog that best represents you, a core artist or artistic philosophy, which would it be and why?
Wow, one song to my art and artistic philosophy. Well, you know, that's a good one. I guess I'd have to go with, hmm. Well, I have a song out there. I guess I'll go with mine. It's called "The Dream of Love" by the I Music Studio,
Okay.
and I guess it has to best represent my influences so far because it is a summary of the music that I've consumed as a child, and it's a love song, which is the only kind of song that I write. And yeah, I had fun with it. It was the very first song I produced, the very first song I put out. Um, you know, and everyone has the first, and so that one's it. It's called "The Dream of Love," and you'll know it when you see it. It's actually the only song that's titled "The Dream of Love." It's a little difficult to find because I'm an independent artist, but if you look for it, it has a little icon of a hummingbird, and it's by the I Music Studio. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Yes, 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 yes. So before we wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Don, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast. My other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season. I'm a book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season. I'm a food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 our fourth season. Science 101, sex 101 in second season. My baby podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible versus 101. And of course, coming this December, Entrepreneur 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Don, what is the emotional process of releasing a completed piece of music into the world? Is it relief, anxiety, or something else entirely?
Wow, that's a great question. It's relief. It's always relief when you release a song, when you get it out there. There's so much work involved that people, I think, underestimate. And I used to be a contractor, so it's not physical work, it's just mental work. It's very tedious to take a song that might have, 1,800 individual beats. And I promise you, as a music producer, I will listen to every single one of them at least 12 times over and over again. And line everything up and make sure that everything is perfect. It's a lot of tedious work. So by the time we get to releasing, it is a relief. But at the same time, that's when we go to work because like I said in the beginning of the podcast, the difficult part about music in today's music industry is not making music. That's the easy part. Everybody has a home studio in their closet, in their bedroom, in their garage. The hard part of the music industry today is to be heard. There's 10,000 songs uploaded. I take that back. I'm sorry. 100,000 songs. 100,000 songs are uploaded to Spotify every day. That is a million songs every 10 days. So how do you get heard amongst all this noise? You know, that is what we are here to do. We're here to give independent artists a label and a publisher so that we go into a different pot of music, and that we're noticed and that our music gets onto playlists and that we're able to find sync agreements and license or mechanical licenses and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's what we're here to do for independent artists trying to get our slice of the pie.
Slice of the pie. And thank you so much for doing that, slicing the pie, Mr. Don. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, you know what? Thank you so much, Daniel, for giving me the opportunity to come on your show. I really love it. I love your podcast. We are sponsored by dreadlockjesus.com, one of our studio sponsors, as well as Big Island Cymbals. They make cymbals for drummers on the Big Island of Hawaii. So please help our supporters. And then you can find us, the I Music Studio, at on our YouTube channel, the I Music Studio. Exactly how it sounds. Look for the logo. You can see it behind me. It's on the website. That's how you know you found us. The I Music Studio is a studio for independent artists as well as a record label and music publisher. So I appreciate your time to get us out there. And again, thank you to our sponsors, dreadlockjesus.com and Big Island Cymbals.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Don, because if you support him, for sure more and more empowering advocacy like this to come and music will rise. So, Mr. Don, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
Mordika people, see you soon.